Going to talk about World War III. A number of articles directly referencing World War III by world leaders. We are in the middle of it. The public just aren't aware, or they don't want to pay attention to it. I think they're willingly ignorant. And that's exactly what the Bible says of folks about the flood of Noah, for example. Folks are willingly ignorant of the things that the Bible speaks about, and that includes the last days and end time Bible prophecy. Now, likewise, as it relates to World War III, people are willingly ignorant. Those in the West, they've never experienced war, so they don't know what it looks like. They're scared of it. They don't want to think about it. They just want to live their lives fat, dumb, and happy. But we're going to take a look at these articles because there's a lot of things pointing to directly to World War III. Now, this is interesting. Boeing. There's been a couple whistleblowers that have died mysteriously. Now, when you have one whistleblower for a company come out and say, you know what, the quality assurance part of the company wasn't the best, and maybe he happens to die, well, you don't think about that much. When you have two whistleblowers who have come to the authorities and said, you know what, we have testimony of stuff going on which wasn't up to par at Boeing manufacturing facilities, and both of them die, well, then you've got some weird things happening. And this is going to increase in the last days. Folks, what happens in communist countries? People disappear. Mysterious deaths happen, or things, they get mysterious illnesses. These things happen, we thought, in communist countries, but no, all across the world, the East, the West, doesn't matter where you are, there is money and power and evil in all walks of life, all areas, in all forms of government, and I think we're seeing that here. So Boeing faces 10 more whistleblowers after mysterious deaths of these two particular ones. So that's an interesting data point, I guess. All right, here, let's talk about all the things leading up to World War III and pointing out that, in fact, we're in it, and the leaders are saying we're heading towards nuclear world war as well. Hungarian foreign minister warns Macron risks sparking World War III. He warned that the French leader Emmanuel Macron's threat to send NATO troops to Ukraine risks sparking World War III. Haven't basically every Bible prophecy teacher been saying that, and even Canadian Pepper and all these other guys, they've all been saying the same thing. The leaders are setting us up for World War III. This is your hedge. Russia's tactical nuclear weapons exercises are meant to deter NATO. Sputnik reported on Monday that the Russian General Staff is preparing to carry out drills for practicing the use of tactical nukes. That's right, tactical nuclear weapons will be used on the battlefield in Ukraine. It will be a warm-up for all of us to get us ready. They're going to call it E-bombs because they're going to use nukes to create electromagnetic pulses, and E-bombs sounds environmentally friendly. It's better for mainstream media to call it an E-bomb versus nuclear bomb because there's side effects and radiation, etc., associated with the term nuclear weapon. So they're not going to use that. Remember, they don't want to scare the public. Governments on neither side want to scare the public, so they're going to control the narrative, control the news, and they're going to put out propaganda and a narrative so that they can kind of steer the public in certain directions, whichever direction they deem fit for World War III. And propaganda is really comes out in all wars. You talk about World War I, World War II, there was propaganda on both sides, not just on the bad side, but on the good side too, quote-unquote good side. There is all sorts of propaganda and censorship of information by governments, by militaries, to keep the public in line and to tell people the narrative that they want the people to see, to keep morale up and all these sorts of things, right? This is War News 247 translated. Russia releases secret documents, what commitments NATO has broken and why a big war is possible. This is exactly what Putin was talking about with Tucker. He was going through the history of Russia, and then he started talking about the history of NATO and all the agreements that the West has, came back on and hopped out of, all the treaties and all these things and agreements with Russia related to the red lines of the NATO expansion, etc. And it's the West that keeps really, pulling back and, lying about these things and going back on their word about the red lines of Russia and about what they're going to agree to. So, these unclassified documents dictate that as well. In a pivotal moment, the Kremlin has released recently declassified documents relating to the NATO-Russia deal after a fall of the USSR and talks up to the year 2000. Which agreements did NATO not keep? And this is where it goes into a whole bunch of things where NATO's expansion is the real issue. We were told no NATO expansion, no involvement in post-Soviet space, and fewer troops in Europe. And has NATO, agreed and continued on with that? Well, no. Let's see what happened. Hungary, Poland, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia, Albania, Croatia, Montenegro, Skopje joined NATO. All these countries joined NATO, and they had originally had some agreements with Russia that they weren't going to expand, but they keep doing it. They keep pushing buttons of the bear, poking the eye. Let's take a look at this. This is Warner's 247. Russia delivered a 3-point nuclear ultimatum to France and Britain. We will bomb your countries directly. So what it says here is talking about the F-16s. Russia handed the ambassadors of France and Britain a 3-point nuclear ultimatum regarding the arrival of F-16s. Remember, F-16s are capable of carrying nuclear weapons. They can be fitted, and they are known to have carried nuclear weapons. And this is scary for Russia because Russia doesn't know which F-16 has nuclear-tipped missiles on board or not. So this is a deal breaker. This is a red line for Russia. A possible strike on Russian hinterland with NATO weapons and the presence of NATO forces in Ukraine. So they're talking about, they're going to go to nuclear war if there's strikes on Russia and F-16s are used, because they can't know if there's nuclear weapons on board, tipping those missiles. It speaks of cyber attack in Germany and all these sorts of things. Apparently, a missile factory in Germany just caught on fire. That was a coincidence, no doubt. Unprecedented war preparation by Finland signed thousands of defense equipment deals in a few days. We must be prepared for a long-term crisis. The whole world is gearing up for this. It's incredible to me that this is still escaping the mainstream media, that people are still not being told to go out and start digging bunkers. This is where we're at, especially in Europe. I mean, my goodness, any nuclear weapons there, the fallout is going to be blowing and raining right on them. And but there are various countries where it is ratcheting up, and in fact their civilians are being told. But we in the West here, we're living fat, dumb, and happy. We have no idea what's happening. In fact, when I ask people about it, they don't even follow the news. They don't want to follow the news because it's all terrible, and they don't want to be depressed with what is actually happening. It's incredible. And what's happening with the leader of the free world, the Biden of the United States? Well, his campaign managers are going to shorten his speeches because they're going to try quality over quantity. That's what they're saying. The Biden campaign team has admitted that they are seeking to shorten his speeches, claiming that they are seeking quality over quantity. Remember, he hasn't even debated Trump yet, the leading Republican candidate. He's not going around doing all these events for his reelection because when he gets up there, he can't speak freely. He can't speak off the top of his head. He is in serious cognitive decline. NBC reports Biden's handlers are looking to shorten his speeches to limit public displays of cognitive decline. Remember, we stand on the precipice of World War III, nuclear war, and you have the leader of the free world who is, commanding NATO, for all intents and purposes, Joe Biden, and cognitively, he is not there. This is crazy. Like, who is running the ship? That's a real question. He is supposed to be the commander-in-chief. Who is running the ship? It is not Biden. My goodness. All right, what's happening in Israel? Well, this is very biblical too. IsraelNationalNews.com, Netanyahu to the world, we will fight alone if we have to. Never again is now. And he's talking on on Sunday when he addressed the ceremony of the Holocaust Remembrance Day. This article is from yesterday. And he says, we will fight alone if we have to. You know what? That is absolutely 100% biblical. Bible says in the last days that all nations will be against Israel. And it will come to a point where even Israel's army, the IDF, will not be able to protect Israel. And they will call upon the Lord when that happens. Ezekiel 38 really speaks a lot to that. It says, and it will come to pass at the same time when Gog comes against the land of Israel, says the Lord, that my fury will show in my face, for in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath I have spoken. Surely in that day there shall be a great earthquake in the land, so that the fish of the sea, the birds of heaven, the beasts of the field, all creeping things that creep on earth, and all men who are on the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. This comes after Ezekiel 38, the Gog-Magog invasion. Go read Ezekiel 38 and you'll see what's happening there. So, all nations have come against Israel, and that is 100% true, and Netanyahu is biblically accurate here. That means that we are getting closer. That is one of those timepiece things when, as nations fall off from supporting Israel, you know that the time is very near, because again, the Bible describes a time when no nations will support Israel in these days rather. So I'll leave there, guys. Thanks for watching. Nuclear war, we're headed there. Be prepared. I think we're going to be around here for it. I think part of this is the four horsemen of the apocalypse, World War III, Great Famine, pandemics, and economic collapse. All these things, they kind of all trigger each other and make each other worse, and are all a part and parcel of each other. And hard times are coming. And I think a lot of Christians don't really recognize that. They think we're going to be magically raptured out. Everything's going to be awesome. We won't see any persecution or pain or suffering. And as leaders have said before, all throughout the Bible, there has been persecution and trouble and trials and a hard life. We're not here for an easy life. We're here to make a decision for Christ. And that may mean being martyred, as many Christians in biblical times, throughout the last 6,000 years have had to go through. It is not a nice thought, but God will give you the faith and the patience and the grace for the day that is ahead of you. So be prepared. Recognize, folks, you may not get off easy, and you likely will not. I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. And as always, we'll see you in the next video.